And welcome back to the MedTech Wealth Advisor Show, a show dedicated to helping professionals in the MedTech industry make smarter decisions with their money and align their capital with their values. I'm your host, Matt Nelson, Senior Advisor here at Perspective 6 Group, Focus Financial. If you want to learn more about our website or anything that the team does, check us out at www.perspective6group.com. And today I'm excited to have another episode where we get to meet the team. So I wanted listeners to get a chance to meet some of our newest team members of P6. I have Grace Hennen and Karissa McLaren with me today. They joined the team this year earlier in May, and I'm really looking forward to letting you hear about their background. I'll probably learn something about them that I didn't know, and I think it's going to be a fun conversation. So it's great to have you two on the show, Grace and Karissa. The reason I am really looking forward to this conversation is, frankly, the whole team is just super excited about you being here. We're happy that you're here. You've already made a big difference in our work processes and what we provide clients. And we've gotten good feedback already. I know it's been a whirlwind of just training and everything so far, and there's obviously much more to come. But again, in the few short months you've been here, it's been a blast. You've really fit in well. Anything you want to say just off of how after joining the team, was it anything that you expected or didn't expect?
I think it's safe to say that it's been a whirlwind of a lot of things I didn't expect, but all in the best ways. You know, going through school, you have some sort of idea of what you think the career world is going to be like, but it has continued to surprise me every day.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. How about you, Grace?
I'd say Karissa stole the words right out of my mouth. Pretty much kind of that same idea. It's a lot different than I was kind of thinking it would be going into school, but in a great way. It's been an amazing experience being in a firm like this and just being in a full-time career, which I love so far.
That's great. Yeah, well, you're both extremely sharp, and I'm excited about having the kind of youthful passion that comes with starting a new career, and all the things that you can teach us as well, because I don't have all the answers. None of us really do. What I thought we could do, though, is, because I know a lot of clients listen to the show, and they're going to be super interested in hearing a little bit about your background, what led you to the career you're in today, and so forth. So we'll just start there, and then we'll see where the conversation just kind of unfolds. Karissa, why don't we just start with you? So, tell me a little bit about your background and how you got here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been quite the journey. So I am originally from Kentucky. I was born and raised on a small cattle farm in eastern Kentucky and loved every second of it. I definitely credit that to be a large part of the reason of who I am today, but it certainly wasn't easy. So grew up, raising cattle. We had various different types of livestock, and then went through high school playing soccer a large portion of the time. But then, you hit sophomore, junior year, and then everybody starts asking, what are you going to major in when you go to school? And it's like, well,
Yes.
I know agriculture. It's the only thing I've ever known. So I don't really know yet. So it kind of became a sort of process of elimination, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I enjoyed numbers a lot. I knew I enjoyed the markets just kind of from an agriculture perspective, always looking at the prices of beef and how different factors can go into that. And so then I was like, you know what? We'll try out finance. We'll see how that goes. So I went to college at Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green and fell in love with the campus there. Loved all of my professors. Would not trade those 4 years for the world. But I had various different internships throughout my time in college, some in bank regulation, some in the insurance industry. And I think one of the biggest things that I learned through college, it's not always finding out what you do like, but it's also finding out what you don't like.
Yes.
And so through
So
those
true.
various internships and then also a couple different side jobs in the food service industry, I found that I had a huge passion for just working with people and helping people. So when it came to decide what career path I wanted to go down, I had this finance background. I've been learning about the markets and investments and economics for 4 years, but I also had this drive to just sit down with people and talk to them and figure out how I can help them every day. And so I landed on financial advising. Um, how I found my way to P6, though, is quite an interesting story. So I know many of our listeners know Jacob LaRue from past episodes, and he is actually an alumni at the university that I went to. So he sent out an application to the dean of my finance department and said, hey, I have some background at this school. We're looking for a new hire. And I was like, Minneapolis? It's like, well, I've been there a couple times, but I don't know a ton about it. But I thought, you know what? I love traveling. I love new places. It's always neat to meet new people. So we'll try it out. And I applied, got an email back a couple days later, went through the interview process, flew up here to meet the team. And I was like, I'm sold.
The rest is history, huh?
Yep, the rest is history. So here we are. And I've enjoyed every second of it. The team here is great. The team is exactly what I thought would be worth moving for. And that's proven to be true since then.
Oh, that's so good to hear. That's so good to hear. Yeah, that I love it that we've got two connections, Karissa. We've got the agriculture piece in our background, growing up on the farm and just understanding ag business a little bit. That's so we can just have the water cooler talk about that, and then it is really fun to have hired someone else from a school we were already familiar with, and that connection with professors, with Jacob's professors and so forth is great. So yeah, we're super glad to have you here. Maybe before we move on to Grace's background, just tell me what you think, tell me what your role at the firm is right now.
Yeah, so I came here with the intention of being a financial planning associate. So basically that means I'm constantly learning. From day one, everybody in the office has said it's like drinking water from a fire hose, and that has definitely proven to be true. I think Grace could back me up on that one. Every day I come in and I'm learning something new about the industry, about our clients, how we operate as a team. But mostly we're kind of going through and working under a lot of the advisors, just seeing how they communicate with clients and just a general knowledge of kind of how we operate. It goes back to, we learned so many things in school, but there's also so many things that we didn't learn in school. So it's learning from all of the advisors, but then also our support staff, and just figure out the application of how we serve our clients on a day-to-day.
All right. Very good. Very good. Well, we're going to come back to a couple interesting questions about that, I hope. But Grace, I want to hear a little bit about your background, and just tell me, what led you to us today?
Yeah, so I grew up in St. Cloud, Minnesota. So been in Minnesota my entire life. I never left. During high school, I played soccer like Karissa did, so we had that in common when we were starting. But I was kind of in that same place around like junior, senior year, where I was like, oh, I need to figure out what I want to go to college for. And I had no clue. I was very lost trying to figure it out, and I started just kind of researching everything possible. Similar to Chris, I knew I liked numbers. Math was my favorite subject in school. I really enjoyed the analytical side of it and just finding patterns and that sort of thing. So then I started looking into math focused fields, and I found finance, and I was like, well, I don't know what kind of career I would go into with finance. And so I started thinking about some of the different jobs I worked in high school and what I enjoyed about them. And a lot of it was I really liked working with people and doing customer service type stuff, which is what led me to financial planning and that as a career field. So then researching that a little bit more, I found the financial planning program that UMD has, and I was set. That was what I was going to do. And if I hated it, I was out of luck kind of thing. So I went up to UMD and I did the planning program while I was up there. And lucky for me, I loved every second of it. I started an internship while I was up there at a financial planning firm, which really solidified how much I like doing the planning side and like the analytics and that sort of thing. And also just having that feeling that you're helping somebody. I really love that aspect of that internship. And that's actually how I found P6. Also, my boss at that internship knew Matt, and she was helping me find different connections and people to reach out to once I graduated to try to find some firm to work at. And I was introduced to Matt in P6 and drove down to the cities from Duluth for an interview. And I left that interview kind of like, well, I really hope I get this job because I don't want to go anywhere else. It seemed like a perfect fit for me immediately. I don't know about you guys, but I had made up my mind right away, and thankfully it all worked out.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love to hear that. That's a great story. Yeah. In fact, so the connection you mentioned, a friend of mine, so Tanya Nichols, a great colleague and friend, she actually said when, so this is kudos to Grace. So she said, you know what, I had to hire her because she actually cold called me for her internship by just walking into my office and asking if we needed help. And she was so impressed by that. And she told me when she first introduced us, she's like, oh, this girl, she's wicked smart. You got to hire her. So we're like, all right, well, that sounds good. I think I'll meet with them. So yes, we absolutely, in fact, we had no intention of hiring two people at once, but we were so impressed by both of you that my partner and I just said, we can't pass this up. We got to take them both. So kudos to you. And it's been great. I love seeing how the two of you came in as a, almost like a finance camp, and you've gotten to know each other and you have fun and you're laughing back there and just having a good time, helping clients out and doing good work. So that's been great. Love it. As we're going through, so one of you mentioned, I think Karissa, you mentioned, some of the things that you learned in school, maybe they don't play out the same that come to the office. So just as a general discussion between the two of you, either of you can jump in. What's something that you learned since you've been here or have seen play out that either didn't come up in school or was very different than what you expected?
Yeah, I mean, school accomplished what it was supposed to in a lot of ways. I think we learned the textbook material of what we needed to know. We learned what an IRA was. We learned a little bit about taxes and insurance, but school, unfortunately, did not prep me for the application of everything I think that we do on a day-to-day. And that has been one of the biggest things to learn, I think. Just how we know the basics, we know the groundwork, but how can we actually apply that to help our clients on a day-to-day basis? And what does that look like in a team environment too? I'd say that's been one of the biggest things that I've had to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would agree with Karissa on that one. It was definitely a lot of just, this is what's in the book, this is everything you need to know, but not how to actually apply it. And I also found going through like meeting season this fall is something that wasn't taught, is how to interact with a client in a meeting or how to just even sit and observe a client meeting, which is what Chris and I did most of the time. Mm-hmm. Just that client relationship side of it isn't something you're taught necessarily in a class. It's not one of your required classes for graduation or anything like that. So I think that was kind of the biggest learning curve, was how does this office specifically interact with people, and how do I fit into that?
That's great.
Yeah, I can remember one particular scenario. This was a couple months ago, but Jacob had given me a task to do something, and I was like, oh, okay, I know the formula to know how to do this. So I went down, I crunched all the numbers, I ran everything together and went back and said, okay, here's what I found. And he was like, oh, you didn't have to do all that. You just click here, and then you would have found your answer this way. And so I think that's another way school really instilled the background of how to do everything, which I think was very valuable. But the application of that in the real world is that it doesn't take all that time, and there's a lot more efficient way to do that than what was taught.
Yes. And what I've observed about you so far is as you're sitting in on meetings and we're learning how to help, you're seeing how sometimes the logical answer and the specific math isn't always what we need to do for clients to make them successful. So we're concerned about their outcome, hitting their goals, making sure everything works for their specific situation. And sometimes they can't do that in a spreadsheet. And it's hard to understand that in school, but you're seeing it play out now. So glad we had that experience so far in your first meeting season, which has been great. So a bigger question, as you're just getting started in your career, but you've got, you're both very bright. You've had 4 years of school learning about the industry. Is there anything you'd like to change about the industry in your career going forward?
Yep. I think the industry has made a load of progress just in the past 20 or 30 years or so, from what I've heard from both you all and then professors in school. And I would say we're on the right track. I would say there's still room for improvement for sure, as in everything. But I think we're seeing a more inclusive environment as far as financial advisors go. We're seeing a wider array of people join the industry. I think that's kind of evident with Grace and I ourselves. And yeah, I think there's a very bright future. I think people are continuing more and more to see the value that having a financial advisor can bring to their lives, especially in a world like today. There's so much uncertainty, and it's nice to know that we can give our clients that peace of mind.
Yeah, that's great. How about you, Grace?
Obviously, I wasn't in the industry 20 years ago, but having interacted with some advisors who have been and hearing about how things used to go and what the kind of normal was back then compared to now, I definitely say it's moving in the right direction, and definitely making more progress as we go. But there's still some room for improvement. Like Karissa said, everything can always be better. Just that idea of more inclusivity, or just the idea of not being intimidated to jump into something like this that you might think, oh, I don't know enough. There's too much to learn. I think that idea is kind of going away a little bit more now than it probably was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yes, that's great. I love that. I mean, and yeah, because in this industry, you have to jump in and learn all the time. It's just, it just never stops. The hits keep coming. Like there's new tax laws, and there's new investment news, and new software and new ways of doing things. And, I can't keep up, and I need a good team surrounding me. And so I'm actually going to rely on the two of you to help keep me current. Right. So that's, that's why I need fresh new minds like you. So I guess on that note, is there, in the short time you've been here, we didn't have this pre-question, so I might catch you off guard, but is there anything you feel, like you lean toward? Like, is there a specific type of work that you enjoy more than the other? Do you see your career developing a certain way?
I think Karissa and I are almost the exact opposite on this answer, actually. I found, and I think I kind of discovered this in school, having taken some of these classes, that I really, really enjoy the tax planning, estate planning, that side of things, and going into the planning software and building different things out, and just taking all that information and just seeing where it connects, where you can make changes, that sort of thing. Kind of like I was talking about earlier, finding patterns, all the analytics stuff. That's kind of what I'm drawn towards a little bit more.
It's great.
Yeah, I would retweet that when you say that we're kind of opposites in that, but then I realized, well, maybe that's why they hired the both of us, because we're not copy and paste of each other. I would say I definitely lean more towards the market side of things and following the economy. I credit a little bit of that to just be my upbringing and seeing the relevance of why it's important to stay up to date on all of those things. But I found myself really gravitating towards the investment side of things. Just recently, we've been working on a project of just going through and replacing some of our old mutual funds with potentially new ones, maybe not, but I've just found that to be super fascinating and really happy Grace enjoys the estate and tax planning, but I think our skills will complement each other well down the road.
Yes, that's very good. And as you can imagine, I had that intuition already, and I'm glad to hear you say that on camera. So now we've got a career path set.
Confirmation bias there, huh?
I love it. It's so fun. It's so fun. All right. So we want to wrap up with, I want to know a little bit more about your hobbies and interests, and I'm sure listeners do too. So I'm going to start with you, Grace. What do you do on the weekends? What gets you excited about spending time after work?
Usually after work, I will like sit in my room and read if I am not studying at the time. So the last 4 months or so of work where I've been studying for tests,
Yes.
I haven't been able to do that, but I've started picking that up a little bit more now that I have a little bit of a break from all the studying.
Any particular genre you like to read about?
No, I kind of just pick one up and read the little summary on the back, and if there's something on it that I'm like, oh, that might be fun to read about, I kind of go with that. Otherwise, I think I wrote this in my bio for the website, I do a lot of camping with my dad. Mm-hmm. We actually are trying to plan a hiking trip for the Superior Hiking Trail at some point.
Fun.
Not sure when we're going to actually get to that, but I love anything outdoors, hiking, camping, being out on the lake, that sort of thing. Or just being with my family. They're not too far since they're just in St. Cloud, so I'll try to drive back and see them every once in a while, go watch football with them or that sort of thing.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on there. I also enjoy pretty much anything outdoors. Most of the time after work, I'll be going on a run around one of our mini Minnesotan lakes, which I have come to know and love, not being from here. It's really changed my game a little bit. I have also recently gotten the CrossFit, so I usually do that most days after work. Also a good book. When we were in the process of studying for our Series 66 and Series 7, there were so many days where I would just go outside and lay a blanket down and just be there with my big, thick textbook. And like, well, I'm going to have to study. I might as well at least be under a tree while I'm doing it. So
there you go. I love it. This is, yeah. And, you know, so as we're recording this in November, Karissa has yet to experience our lovely Minnesota winters, Grace. So we'll have to be kind to her, bring her some warm tea. You know, being from Kentucky, I know you get snow down there occasionally, right?
Yeah, but nothing like here from what I've heard. Knock on wood. Maybe it'll be like last year.
It's fine. We heat all of our buildings. You can pre-start your car. You'll make it. It's good.
I hope so.
Just make sure you have extra gloves in your car for when you're driving.
Noted.
Well, this has been great. I'd love to just have learned a little bit more about you. Like I knew I would, you know, even though we talk in the office, it's fun to just chat. And I know our clients are going to love hearing a little bit about your background as you get to, you know, help them implement their plans, help on the team, help Matt and Jacob and I, all are going to be so much more productive and more effective with your help. And so I think you both have a bright career ahead here or anywhere you go. I mean, hopefully we get to keep you your whole career, but rising stars don't always stay around. So we will do our best to hold on to you two. We will have more of these to come. I actually, as we go through this, I can see a future in maybe you having your own YouTube channels, or we set up this on a regular occurrence. We'll figure something out. Maybe it's a retirement planning with Grace and Karissa corner or something like that, but we'll see what comes.
I appreciate the optimism there.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up there. So thanks, listeners, for joining us today on the MedTech Wealth Advisor. If you'd like to know more about the business, about the team, you can read Chris and Grace's bios if you'd like to, and schedule an appointment if you just want a second opinion on your existing retirement plan, anything having to do with investments. We will help as much as we can. Our website is www.pursueinvestments.com. perspective6group.com. If you'd like to call us, phone number is 952-225-0333. And with that, I'd like to just remind you, financial freedom takes a lot more than money. So find your purpose and make a plan to live your life well. If you need any guidance, we're here to help. Take care of each other out there.